Now once again I had to start leveling to level 44, which is 3 levels, which is like 11 hours. Yay. So yeah, I'm starting to being impatient, careless, and being recklessness. Like, I usually like to do this thing that I pull out the main guy from a big building or something and pulls everyone with it with my pets and just nuke the big guy and run away with it, and, which I also did here because I'm just too lazy. And yeah, I did it, I looted and... Oh, I have to turn in the quest in the house. Now I did went back to Eroti so I can play with the cool guys that make the questing way more fun to do and not grindier than it needs to be. But I got a quest that gave me this dingus looking goggles so I can see the quest items below the ocean floor. I mean, do they really expect me to wear these dingus looking goggles to complete the quest? So of course I didn't do the quest, but I kept the goggles so I can look fashionable, as always. But I did have some hard times in the questing, of course, and I'm gonna show you all. But for example, this one, I managed to pull like the whole troll tribe here, like 5 or 6 at once, because I just wanted to kill their leader. Like, why is he protected? It's just their leader, like, come on. But I miscalculated my mana, and whenever I life tapped, I didn't have mana for Deathcoil, which is a new skill that deals 300 damage and negate the half that it dealt damage and also fears them for 3 seconds. So yeah, I almost died, but luckily Deathcoil did came up just in time so I don't get auto-attacked to death. And for some reason they did it, so I went back, killed the guy, and yeah, that was the whole story, but yeah, there was some close calls. Also, I like that the game decides that I'm just hanging around doing my own business, and for some reason some random guy just dies by overpulling, and everything that he overpulls just aggroes me, even that I wasn't even close to him. Like, yeah, that's fun. WoW really gave me that feelings that I wanna play around other players, definitely not the opposite. Also, I got a quest that I had to fight this big cat, which obviously was a gang leader because wherever I pulled, every cat that was in 30 yards around him just came, like he was just yelling like, "Yo, CJ, let's kick this cracker's ass!" And they just came like, okay, I guess I just wanted to pull him to the road so it's easier to feel, but I guess I'm fighting the whole gang. And even though I managed to do it at 50%, he also summons 2 more panthers, like, cool, just invite everyone to the fight. But in the end, no matter how much help he got, he died. So sad. And the last thing I want to talk about is this part. Do you see the time? It's 3 o'clock, and all I had to do is get 10 crab legs, crocodile claws like 6, and kill 30 mugs, which isn't much, it's a quick one, right? It took me an hour and a half just to do all that non-stop without stopping, swimming, killing, and nothing else. It was so long. If Badlands weren't existing, this would be the worst one. But luckily I finished and turned in the quest, and that was it. What? You just pretty much gave me the same quest. That's what I just did. But instead of because I killed 10 Murlocs, but the other 2 is the same thing. Oh my god, I can't do it. But I powered through, I level up to 44, and here's my talent tree if someone actually interested in it. So yeah, it's time for the dungeon. Well, right at the start I had to kill a critical tango. I didn't want to. I tried to resummon and everything, but because the priest outside of the dungeon buffed my pets, I just had to kill him. It's solo dungeon for a reason. We cannot get outside help even if it's just a stamina buff. I tried my best to not to kill him, but that was the only option that actually removed the stamina buff. Resummoning him, dismissing him didn't remove. So yeah, that sucks. I didn't want to, but without the stamina buff, we can finally start the dungeon. Our first enemy was a soldier, which pretty much just has a high amount of armor, which I didn't care about since I'm a caster. Even though it came with pairs usually, nothing really happened, they were easy targets, so easy to kill. Although I did immediately pull way too much, but since it was the beginning of the dungeon, I just ran out. So yeah, I kinda need to be more careful. Now the next enemy, this is pretty much the only time I've actually fight them, is the Conjurer, which was interesting because they dish out a large amount of fire damage and they also have a fire element up it. But they don't really have that much health, and since this was the only time I actually fight them, I just pretty much nuked one of them and slowly killed the second one, and kinda that was it. The other two, the elementals were just pets, so I just ran out of the dungeon, and when I came back the elementals weren't there because, you know, the two guys that actually summoned the pet were dead. Now, but we finally reached the real part of the dungeons, and our first enemy was the Evoker, which has a low amount of health and just casts fireballs, which is easy to line of sight, and they were the patrols of this dungeon, so it's easy to pull them accidentally because they are patrolling the whole part of this dungeon from now on. Now, before it died, it actually pulled two soldiers, which I could have just run out of the dungeon, but instead I actually killed them, and the reason is pretty simple. This is Scarlet. I learned from Scarlet the respawn time is half an hour instead of 3 hours, which means I have to get used to this. I have to get used to not running out the dungeon. I could have used it still, and I will use it in the future until the respawn happens, but I just know I won't have that luxury forever. And our next important enemy is the Protector, where Donkey once again shine. Although I didn't know that until the middle of the dungeon that the Protectors can only heal themselves, but yes, they heal, holy light, and they pretty much spam it like every 15 seconds or so, and it heals a lot. But with Donkey I can just interrupt it and fear the other one, although once again they don't heal each other, just by themselves, so I didn't really need to fear, but yeah, Protectors are dangerous. But with Donkey, I'm not afraid. And our next enemy is Guardsmen, and 3 of them. And they actually just hit really hard, like way too hard, like their auto attack is just way too much. And I didn't want to fear, but I had no other option, and obviously I feared. But once I saw he is running towards the worst possible way because there are enemies there, I just ran out of the dungeon. But before I actually did that, I really wanted one of the guardsmen to actually die because I didn't want to fight 3 of them at once, so I just killed one while I Hall of Terror everything, and once he was dead I just ran out of the dungeon. Now, since I knew my time is limited with running out and also the next pack is kinda strong, I was looking for evade spot, and this spot looked like an evade spot because my pets acted weirdly, like even Cracker and Donkey, so once I did the first pull I obviously killed one, and yeah, I tried out the evade spot, which worked. No, that was a relief, because I really needed an evade spot since I couldn't run out of the dungeon, and I was so happy I found it until I moved, because once I moved, the evade spot didn't work. They started hitting me, I had to run away, and once I went back to try to evade again because I was actually close to dying, I couldn't get that spot, which means that evade spot was just 1 pixel and I was just lucky to find it by accident. I couldn't get back it, so it wasn't really on a evade spot. I had to run out of the dungeon, and the respawn started to happen, which means this was the last time I could run out of the dungeon unless I want to clear the dungeon again. So from now on, every mistake was deadly. I had no evade spot and I couldn't run out of the dungeon anymore. Everything could be my death from now, and I need to find an evade spot as fast as I can, but I couldn't. There was almost no evade spot in the whole dungeon, so I just had to lock in and play right. Even though I immediately made a mistake to fear, and I couldn't stop the fear, so it actually pulled an extra enemy, which is a defender, our new type of enemy. And other than it has tons of health and armor, it has shield bash, which you can see it here. Once it used shield bash on me, it interrupts me and locks my spell scope, which for shadow, for 8 seconds, and I cannot use any ability. Yeah, my first mistake almost actually managed to kill me, but it wasn't the worst mistake yet. And speaking of worst mistake, this is probably my worst mistake. I already had to fight 3 elites and 3 defenders nonetheless, which could easily interrupt me and I can't do anything. And this went really south. And yeah, you can just watch this. So yeah, the situation is not good without evade spots. Patrolling respawning in me, and everything respawning behind me, making my space really small. The fights are actually pretty difficult, but we moved on. And now our last enemy, Myrmidon, which is not the least, that's for sure. They are dual wielding and hit hard, so if they are hitting me, I cannot cast a single spell because dual wielding. And instead of running away, they actually enrage, which means they hit even harder. And that's pretty much the whole dungeon. Pulling 2 or 3 enemies at once, knowing which pet once again use is Donkey or Tango, but mostly it was just Tango. And yeah, it was really hard still, because killing 3 elites with sometimes ninja pool as you see, and respawn behind me, which is limited spacing, and without evade spot. I did find an evade spot at the end. It wasn't at the end of the dungeon, it was in the middle, but I just found it right when I kind of finished. It was on the boxes, so I wish I would have found it earlier, but yeah, I kinda had to clear the whole dungeon without evade spot. And I'm just gonna show you one random fight here with 3 enemies, just so you know how kinda still difficult to clear the dungeon, even though I'm not showing you all the fights. But this is pretty much all the fights were like this, but with different enemies, sometimes with protectors, sometimes with myrmidons, sometimes with defenders. You get the point. But once we finally cleared it, and you seen this fight, I guess, it was time to do the actual challenge. Hero. Now this fight was no joke. As you can see, he has 12k health. That kinda hit me in the heart because, oh my god, I'm gonna be here all day. And the boss actually hits hard. Now he has 2 abilities, which I figured out during the fight, but oh boy, they are strong. First things first, they have a whirlwind, which hits really hard, so I have to pull my pet back or they're just gonna kill my pet. And also is he immune to damage while doing so, so half of the time I can't even damage the boss next to 12k health. That's kind of fun. Like, we can just say he has 24k health. And the second one is the scary part. He already runs really fast, but he has board charge, like in Rise of and Crawl the Peak. And that's, you can see it once in the video or twice, it just almost one hits me. It's ridiculous how hard it hits, and also it hits my pet sometimes. That's the scary part. So my strategy was, I just kinda AFK. I'm just letting my pet solo, because if I get aggro, and I didn't know he had the charge by then, I'm just gonna die. And I'm so glad I did that and not trying to kite it around the room, because he would just kill me. He's so fast, he would just kill me. I only managed to kite it at the end because, you know, the lower half he has, the slower he becomes. So pretty much my pet soloed this fight, and the fight isn't interesting, but you can see the whole fight if you want to. Okay, yes. And Scarlet Armory has been conquered. It went way differently because I expected him that I need to kite around the room, but Tango just soloed the boss, so it's all thanks to him, man. And that's all I'm gonna say now. I'm gonna leave my thoughts how I felt after the dungeon because that's the genuine how I actually felt the dungeon. And probably again tired voice. But the video is over, so I guess seeing you in the next dungeon. Bye. Well, okay. My plan, I don't think it would have worked because what was my plan is to jump down and up, but the board charge, sorry, was unexpected. That's such a huge increased speed and damage. But I'm so glad that Critical Tango is just such a beast. Like, legit. He soloed Herod. He didn't even need me, just my health. He literally soloed Herod. Critical Tango. You are a beast. I'm so happy for you. You and Donkey did a great job in this dungeon, but you just soloed the boss. That's impressive. That's so impressive, my man. Where is it? There we go. 10 dungeon. 10 dungeon is complete. Holy shit. We actually came out with more social than we entered, which was so funny. I use so much bandage in this one. Where can I find mage waves? And also, where can I learn the higher level one? Because I have no idea. And I do need it. I do need it. Silk. What I do think in Cathedral and there is Earth and Down, I guess, is the next one too. Alright, that's the two next dungeon. Yeah, I do think both of them drops Mage Wave. But anyway, that's that. Armory was decent. Although now that I knew respawn is a thing, and once again, I had no idea where were the evade spots. But still, once I knew they respawn like stupidly fast, I managed. But here's the thing, I think Cathedral will be the end of me. Because if the respawn time is the same, which will be, I don't know how to defeat the boss. If the respawn time is the same, that means he's gonna pull the whole dungeon with him. If I don't clear out the whole place, but if I do, the respawn will happen, and yeah, that's just GG. So I think Cathedral will be our first dungeon that we just cannot do. I just don't see it now. I just don't see it now. Like, I legit don't. So I do think Cathedral will be a dungeon that I just have to call a quits on. But it doesn't mean I'm gonna give up. I'm so going to try out. But you can trust me on that I have no chance. Did use my magic dash to nothing because I used it on a target that had dots on, so good job me. I was extremely smart on that position. So I just wasted one, but that means one day I need to farm more.